Mr. Chairman, guest speaker, the Honorable Andrew Holness, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, members of the Diplomatic Corps, representatives of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, members of the clergy, specially invited guests, members of the executive, former members of cabinet, members, supporters, well-wishers of the People's Action Movement, good afternoon. I have been asked this afternoon also by Dr. the Right Honorable Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons and Lady Simmons to give their apologies as they are presently traveling. I want also to congratulate the new executive and to say thanks to the outgoing executive members for their sterling contribution. Please give them a round, warm welcome. I have to stop here this afternoon to do two things before I start. And the first thing I'll do today is to thank my lovely wife sitting down there, Wendy. Because she didn't want to be with any politician. Despise them in fact. But she stood her ground and stood firmly behind me through thick and thin. And as Andrew Holness said, leadership is lonely at the top. But I've never felt lonely having Wendy at my side. So I want to thank her this afternoon for standing behind me for 12 solid years as I lead this party and lead this party into victory. I want to also thank Andrew Holness this afternoon because I will tell you it is one of the shortest addresses we've had by a speaker. But I could tell you it's a message we won't forget this afternoon and beyond this afternoon. A powerful message at the right time for this party. Before I begin my formal presentation, members and friends, I wish to conduct a poll this afternoon. But instead of using the ballot paper, I would like you to give your vote by giving a round of applause, and if you want to shout, shout. But only if you agree with what I'm going to say this afternoon. Do you think it is time for a new government? Do you think that the current leader is bad for this country? Do you think that someone high up in government is personally benefiting from the sugar funds? Do you think that one day they will be brought to justice? And finally, brothers and sisters, are you ready to help PAM to get rid of them? I can't hear you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Well, let us begin this afternoon. Because this afternoon is to motivate you. Because this afternoon is the beginning of the campaign to take over Church Street right now. And they say I was sleeping, but I had my eye open, I wasn't sleeping. I have been waiting, I have been watching, and know that you've made the call. I am ready, they're waking me up now. I am ready, because we are going to put some fire on the Labour Party from today. Members and friends, our theme for this year's convention is motivating our people through action for a stronger movement. I have dubbed my speech this afternoon a time for reflection and action. A time for reflection and action. Members and friends, brothers and sisters, I greet you today at one of the darkest hours in the history of our country. It is a chapter in the independent journey of St.Kitts-Nevis that is filled with economic misery and the highest levels of corruption and nepotism. It is also a period that represents hopelessness and despair. However, this was not the dream of expectation. When the heavens opened its doors to administer its blessing on a new independent nation in 1983. And therefore, after 3 decades almost of nationhood, we have missed our calling with destiny. The primary cause of this displacement has been due to the misguided policies and lack of vision by someone who refuses to recognize that this country is hurting. The current state of affairs of St. Kitts-Nevis, in which it finds itself, certainly does not epitomize the character and the ideals of this nation that was led into independence by one of the most caring, one of the most decent, one of the most honest, one of the most capable prime ministers this Caribbean has ever seen, in Dr. the Right Honorable Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons. Give him a rousing round of applause there for me. 29 years. 29 years after independence, instead of fulfilling the promise of growth, instead of fulfilling the promise of prosperity, the foundation for which was laid by the PAM administration, St. Kitts-Nevis has become the world's second most indebted nation, and one that is so bankrupt that our roads, our schools, our hospitals cannot be properly maintained. That is the state we're at today. It has become a nation so desperate for money that it taxes the very chalk that is needed to educate our children and preserve our future. I hope you forgive me today, brothers and sisters. I hope you forgive me today, brothers and sisters. But when times are hard and the journey ahead seems so discouraging, you cannot help but reflect on the glorious days that you once had. Today I am reminded of King Arrow. You know King Arrow, the well-known Calypsonian in St. Kitts. In 1974, he sung a song called "The Dream." And many of you will recall the words of that song, that composition. So I shall not repeat them here today, nor shall I attempt to sing them. But I want you to close your eyes this afternoon. I want you to close your eyes this afternoon, even if it's for a very short moment. Close your eyes and dream, if even for a moment, about your life today. What do you see? Do you see the challenges you face in paying your bills? Do you see the challenges you face in paying your mortgage, your electricity, for food, school fees, house rent? Do you see the challenges? Do you see a land of peace and tranquility? Or do you see a society of crime and lawlessness? Who are you seeing in that nation, in that dream, brothers and sisters? Who are you seeing in that dream as the person responsible for the hard life and misery you are experiencing today? Who you say? Who you say? Are you happy? Is your life what you want it to be? Do you want to make a change? Do you want to make a change to prosperity and a brighter future? Well, if you think enough is enough, open your eyes, because we are now beginning. Life as it was on the PAM. Members and friends, Nevisians, fellow Kittitians, there once was a time when our little country was known as the freest nation in the world. You remember that? Today, however, it has become a terrified society, afraid of the record-breaking murders from year to year. It was identified by the United Nations back then as a model democratic state that was emerging on the horizon of modern development. St.Kitts-Nevis had the highest economic growth rate per capita in Latin America and the Caribbean. For 11 years, from 1980 to 1991, 11 straight years, #1 in Latin America and the Caribbean. Give those founding fathers of this party, founding members of PAM, those who are in government, a round of applause for that record. A record that has not been achieved to date. And I'm not even sure when I get in tomorrow if I can beat that record. I'm going to try to beat it though. Today we have the highest national debt in the world, except for Japan. And even when destruction came by Hurricane Hugo, fluctuating oil prices, a world recession in the early 1990s, PAM still managed to make the economy record positive economic growth in every single year from 1980 to 1992, except for a slight decline in 1983. You hear, government? Our average growth rate every single year, 6.5%, can't match that. St. Kitts-Nevis recorded surpluses every year except 1988. Every year except 1988 under a government led by whom? Dr. the Right Honorable Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons. What a government! On the Labour, for 16 straight years we have had deficits and more deficits and more deficits, with the government spending more money every single year than it takes in taxes. On the PAM, we had 27 manufacturing companies in the country. Today they have all disappeared, except for a few. Where is the nail factory? Where is Sensor Scientific? Where is CSR? Where is St. Kitts Food Products? Where is Nova Foods? Where are they? Where are they? They have all vanished under this government. They have disappeared from the economic landscape of this country. No longer are we exporting. The only thing we are exporting at the moment are jobs we are exporting because people have no work. On the PAM, St. Kitts-Nevis was a land of glorious opportunities. It was a period when small businesses owned by ordinary local people were thriving and making money. Yes, members and friends, it was a time when we had money in our pockets. Those were the days when thousands of our citizens, thousands of them, moved from under the poverty line, crossing over into the middle class and a better way of life. You remember those days? But remember, members and friends, brothers and sisters, this was made possible by an administration that had what? Vision. An administration that had vision, courage, and it was the respect and envy of nations. Yes, we were the envy of nations, led by Sir Kennedy Simmons. Sir Kennedy Simmons, the true father of our independent nation. Don't let them fool you. And I only pray that one day, I pray one day that when this country is able to find its moral compass again, when it's able to find its moral compass again, that common sense and fairness will prevail. And those in authority will find the decency in their hearts and political consciousness to name Sir Kennedy as the next national hero of the land he delivered from the clutches of colonialism. During the administration of PAM, the resilience, the enterprise of our people was planted in the indomitable spirit of the Kittitian man and the Kittitian woman. This is why we held our own, made progress despite the odds being stacked against us. On the PAM, sugar was still sweet. On the Labour, we have to ask, where the sugar gone? I want to give you a snapshot of life on the Labour. Just a snapshot. But what has happened to us? Have you sat down and thought out clearly what has happened to us? What has happened to this great nation of ours? Unfortunately, we have had 16 years of maladministration, almost 2 decades of a political cancer that continues to eat away at the hearts and the soul of our people and a country we love. Last week, it was only last week, I was asked a few simple questions by a small businessman who is finding it difficult to keep his company alive, finding it difficult to keep his head above the water, finding it difficult in this drowning economy. He asked Mr. Grant, who or what is a Kittitian or Nevisian? Do we know any more? And just when I thought he was finished, he asked me again, why have we been made second-class citizens in our own land? I was stunned. I was embarrassed, not knowing what to say in response. But what I do know is that the perils of indifference, when it comes to this uncaring and victimizing government, could lead to further destruction. Directed by a leader who is all for himself, and is on a mission to keep our local people poor and dependent on his favors. He has become a rich and greedy king who cares only about himself and has forgotten about what it is to be poor. You see, he prefers to see you living by the crumbs falling from his table of charity. That's what he loves. And with this present leader and his administration, we are lost. We are lost in the ocean of despair. Ours is a cause of depression if change does not come. But I have a message for the grassroots today. I have a message for the grassroots today. The message for the grassroots today is, it is time for action. What is it? What is it? It is time for action. A time to stand up for your country that is drowning. It is time to end the affluent society that is reserved only for the Church Street cabal of close friends and family. It is time for St. Kitts to belong to Kittitians again. It is time for Nevis to belong to Nevisians again. I also have a message, not for you in here, the rank and file, but I have a message for those who are not members of our party, but who are willing to put country above self. You hear what I'm saying? Who are willing to put country above self. My message to you is that it is also time for you to take action, to bring an end to this mad dictatorship of a despot who seems willing to sink the entire ship if he cannot continue to be its captain. As Sir Kennedy said at the dawn of our independence, and I quote, "We call upon our citizens to be loyal to this nation, which belongs to all of us. Our concept of loyalty does not preclude healthy differences of opinion, political or otherwise. It, however, expects each and every one of us to place country above self." Sir Kennedy reminded us then, and it is still relevant today, that we cannot achieve these objectives without effort and without sacrifice. You understand that? We cannot achieve these objectives without effort and without sacrifice. This period in our history is not a time for sluggards. It is a time for the intelligence, initiative, and creativity of our people to blossom forth in all its fullness. My dear brothers and sisters, and especially my dear comrades who are listening to the sound of my voice, we must be united in our objective and be purposeful in seeking to bring an end to this one-man show and bring a better quality of life to all our people. The government of the day is so divided and dysfunctional that they would pass each other in the corridors of government headquarters like strangers and enemies in the night. And instead of having a cabinet meeting and cabinet of ministers that makes policies for the good of this country, it has deteriorated into a force of one, which is divided by 10. Let it be known to those on the other side that in a new political dispensation under the next PAM administration, ours will be a tent that is broad enough. A tent that is broad enough and with as many colors to welcome those who are true patriots and who awoke one day to embrace the principle that good men are willing to take action no matter how difficult. Good men are willing to take action no matter how difficult, so that evil is not allowed to flourish. Our political philosophy, fellow Kittitians and divisions, success does not come easily. Success does not come easily. It is a crusade of the weary, fighting for a cause in which we all believe. But fatigue, my brothers and sisters, shall not serve as a deterrent from the mission to provide hope and to provide opportunity. We are aware, acutely aware, that the philosophy of our present rulers is vastly different to the principles and philosophies of the People's Action Movement. We are a party that believes in delivering the masses from the cruel realities of being poor, being hungry, and being unemployed. They, on the other hand, have become a new breed, a new band of leaders whose mission is to exploit the poor and to keep them in a station of life that prevents them from moving up the ladder of our social structure. Simply put, their aim is to keep them poor, keep you poor, so that you have to always turn to them for jobs, favors, and handouts. That's not our philosophy, that's theirs. We are a party for lower taxes and more money in your pockets. They are a party of high taxes and even higher and reckless spending. We are a party that understands that the private sector is the real engine of growth. They are a party that cause our businesses to close and create more unemployment. They are a party that moved our public debt from $2 200 million in 1995 to some $3 billion today in 2012 and growing. There is no comparison between their party and the People's Action Movement. Absolutely no comparison between the two. We want our local businesses to expand and create more wealth for our people. They have made it clear that they prefer to defend and promote foreign businesses. And if you dare to challenge them, they insult our small local businesses by telling them that they are stupid and ignorant to question them, why non-indigenous nationals are being pushed aside for those who just come. They are a party that when our local businesses are crying out for help, complaining about unfair competition, they are told, so what? So what if you get in competition from foreign businesses? Well, if they are not going to stand up for the rights of our local people, tell them I make no apology. I make no apology to defend the cause of every Kittitian and division businessman and businesswoman, no matter what party they support. It is not my intention this afternoon to say to you, we told you so. It is not my intention this afternoon to tell you, we told you so. But since 1995, we warned you. We warned you in 1995 that they were bad for this country. Did we not? We warned you that they would destroy this economy. We certainly knew that once it started, it was going to get worse and worse and worse. And it certainly has. The People's Action Movement also alerted this country that these rulers would do anything to cheat and to stay in power. We said to you, let us reform the electoral system. Let us introduce voter ID cards with fingerprints, remember that? We said to you, let us clean up the list, remember? We begged for the management of the electoral process to be changed. We were campaigning for that. All this we did, and they ignored us. But today, look at what they have done to this country with a corrupt system that mismanages the process of elections. It is now a system, it is a system that has destroyed our democracy. It is one where no longer we have elections that are free and fair. Instead, we have elections under the threat of machine guns and the army. Do you think that is right in modern day democracies? Instead of protecting the integrity of our democracy, they have corrupted the law enforcement agency using guns to deny our people the right to elect the government they desire. Oh, my dear brothers and sisters, the record is brutally clear. From statehood to independence, we have had Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, who took on the might of the British. Southwell, who is credited for his tourism vision. Sir Limor, for his legal and judicial brilliance. Sir Kennedy Simmons, for his diversification of the economy, delivery of independence, and strong economic growth. And look at what we have today. And look at what we have today. Today we have 10 men in one. 10 men in one who is the architect of the worst economic depression and national debt in this country and this country has ever known. Brothers and sisters, that is his legacy. Members and friends, our country, this country is in need of spiritual healing. We are in need of spiritual healing. But we are also in need of a new government. One that would liberate us from this dark dungeon of economic desolation. And that is why That is why the People's Action Movement, we cannot afford to fail the next time around. I want to say it again. This is why we cannot afford to fail the next time around. Your future does not depend on it, you know. It is your children's future and your grandchildren's future and your great-great-grandchildren's future that depends upon us ensuring that we have a victory. Are you ready for the victory? Are you ready for the victory? We are confident. We are confident that the better can be done to resuscitate our dying economy. As a party, the People's Action Movement is willing to make its contribution to help to rebuild the business sector, create jobs, stimulate growth and development, and unleash the avalanche of economic opportunities to give new life to small businesses. As a party, we are ready to offer our guidance back to the path of prosperity. And indeed, the People's Action Movement is committed to restoring the health of our infrastructure and social services. With the leadership of the People's Action Movement, our roads could be paved again. Our hospitals could secure the medicines and supplies they so badly need to take care of the old and the sick. And recognizing that education holds the key to the future of our children and nation, once again, under PAM, we could have the resources to train our teachers, reward our teachers for their excellence, provide desks and chairs, proper labs, and chalk. The People's Action Movement is the only party in St. Kitts that understands that the economy could only improve if we create the enabling environment for our businesses to thrive, expanding and creating new jobs and markets. We understand that growth comes through lower taxes because this leads to higher spending, and this is badly needed to inject life in our economy. The more we export, the greater is our economic growth. The only problem is that things are so bad today that St. Kitts-Nevis has nothing to export except jobs. And because of the crippling policies, the high electricity surcharge, the 17% value-added tax, the stubborn refusal to lend a helping hand to local businesses, and constant attacks on the private sector, one by one our companies are closing. It is with great sadness. It is with great sadness I learned just Friday, some 2 days ago, that one of our biggest local companies has already begun to make some of its workers redundant, despite its efforts to find other alternatives to save these jobs. But when we have a government that establishes a policy to create incentives to encourage consumers to travel overseas to shop at the busiest time of the year, robbing local companies of the much-needed sales, how can we be surprised when job losses come? It is simple. When your sales are low, there's less money to pay salaries. It is simple, and this leads to more people losing their jobs. But does the government care? No, they don't. Because what was their response when our entrepreneurs cried out for help? Their response was, so what if you get in competition? And so Electrofab has closed its doors. The Singer Company has closed its doors. And very soon, very, very soon, I am told, another well-known store in town is to close its doors as well. So you know it? You see, you know it. You know it because you're feeling the economic pinch and the economic pain. In addition, we have seen workers being laid off from the ocean coal storage, the Port Authority, and the final 60 workers from SSMC will soon be sent home. So many thousands of family members have been affected. But who cares? Certainly not the man who said that the sugar industry will close over his dead body And before you could wink, the final horn was blowing, ending the livelihood of thousands of people in this country without making proper means for them. It will be the little children and the grandmothers of these workers who will care. They will care when their medicines cannot be paid for anymore. They will care when the school fees, uniform, books, and food on the table are not forthcoming anymore. But it will be difficult for a leader to care because he's all right. It takes many decades for much less $76 million to be depleted. And why should a common law husband and his common law wife care anyway? They are happy with their millions and operations of Lex Consulting. And as a reward for personal loyalty, but betrayal to country, the new senior diplomat has been appointed as ambassador in the Far East. This new office and its operations must be closely monitored. Because how can we have a diplomat who has been assigned not to promote our industries, not to promote our national security, but to protect the interests of the common law husband in a land where millions of dollars pour in from the sale of our citizenship? And the only ones who are benefiting from those are close friends and family. These are the facts, brothers and sisters. We must also be vigilant, because this appointment has come totally unknown to the chief diplomat and minister who holds responsibility for such overseas missions. The questions I want you to ask yourselves this afternoon are these. Why has that person been appointed? Why to that specific office? Is it true that it shall also serve as the office for the sale of our passports and citizenship? Is there a connection that requires secrecy? Members and friends, this country is no longer a democracy. It is an autocracy. That is what we are. But I wish to sound a warning. The international community, they are watching. It is closely watching the dealings of Lex Consulting, and it is certainly watching the misuse of our passports. The international community has taken careful note to see how the people of St. Kitts-Nevis will hold them accountable for their deeds at the polls. At the polls. I caution us here. Before the international community brings sanctions upon our country for the misconduct of the Labour government, let it not be the international community that sanctions the government. It must be petitions and divisions voting at the poll on the election day. Give them their sanction and send them home. It is very clear, abundantly clear, that we need a new direction. It is abundantly clear that the ship of state requires a new captain. And that is why a new PAM government will ensure that there is legislation for freedom of information and an integrity in public life legislation. But to turn our fortunes around, more than that is required. A new PAM government will place greater emphasis on agriculture as a pillar of our economic security and prosperity. A new PAM administration will again demonstrate that the economy could be made healthier and strive better if your taxes are lower. We do not want higher taxes. We want greater efficiency in tax collection. And that is why fiscal prudence through better spending controls, more efficient tax collection, and greater productivity will also become the hallmarks of a new PAM government. We will make the lands of our country available to all nationals at affordable prices, just as we promised in 2010. Our ancestors toiled on these lands during slavery. Bratcher secured them from the plantocracy, and Simmons paid for them to deliver patrimony into the rightful hands of the ordinary man and woman in this country. And after a struggle, the current leader has betrayed the aspirations of our people by returning our lands to those from whom they were taken. We have to provide greater incentives to the productive sectors of our economy. And it is here we would, as the next party in government, invest much of our efforts. However, we recognize that as a small developing nation of 104 square miles and 50,000 people, we cannot do it alone. We have to forge strategic relationships with our friends in the international community, including Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil, and Taiwan. Now, I am sure we can all appreciate the foresight and decision-making of PAM to establish diplomatic ties with our friends in the Republic of Taiwan China on Taiwan just months after independence. I say this afternoon not to embarrass anyone, but to let us be reminded that 29 years ago, when we braced the political storms and international pressures in the international community to recognize Taiwan, those now in government laughed at us and ridiculed our Taiwanese friends. But let it be known that PAM's solidarity for Taiwan is just as strong today as it was when we ignored the dictates of the superpower to forge our ties with the great Asian giant of an enterprise and technology. Please let them stand and give them a round, warm of applause for their support over the last 29 years of our independence. The path ahead for PAM. I am at my end now. The path ahead for PAM. Now let us turn our attention to the future. I wish to assure the rank and file of the People's Action Movement here this afternoon that your party has been kept busy over the last several months. I wish to inform you this afternoon that as of today, we are on high alert, we are on red alert, and we are ready. Very soon therefore, we will be rolling out a comprehensive series of events, activities, and actions that will constitute our roadmap to victory. Key to that roadmap is the election of new candidates. Oh, you're going silent, eh? Key to that roadmap is the election of new candidates for constituencies. For constituency 1, I can't hear you. For constituency 1, for constituency 2, for constituency 3, for constituency 6, and for constituency 7. This process will also see all existing candidates going through a process of reconfirmation, starting with your political leader in constituency number 4. All this is soon to begin, and the various constituency groups are being put on alert for a series of special conventions and conferences that will begin next month. You want to hear what I'm saying? You say you want to see candidates, didn't you say that? So you are on alert that as of next month, we start to roll out our candidates. Also of considerable note is the massive internal restructuring of the party that has commenced. This will make our various party organs stronger, more effective, and much more organized. Ours will be a party that will be driven by the power of women. I want to hear the women in the house. Ours will be a party that's driven by the youth. I want to hear the youth in the house. And blended by the wisdom of our stalwarts. I want to hear the stalwarts also. Let me hear the stalwarts. So let me also sound a warning that beginning immediately as a post-convention program, the people of this country will begin to feel the weight of PAM again. As we adopt a more aggressive but productive posture in the representation of the concerns of our people. We will not disclose the finer points of our strategy in this forum. But you, the members who need to know, will be informed through the various channels of the party. No longer shall we allow our country to be overtaken by one man and his brand of party politics. I want all those under the sound of my voice to tell him that it will take more than doctors' videos and attempts to smear our good name and character, to halt our conviction, to use the might of the ballot to get rid of him. I want to hear you. I want to say to you this afternoon, that I am committed 100% to this party. I want to say to you this afternoon that as I was committed 12 years ago, so am I committed today. I want to say to you this afternoon, I was only chilling out for a bit, but I want to say to you, the stamp on the ants nest and wake up the ants. And I'm saying to you, I want to say something to you this afternoon, because many of you have been talking about demonstrations. Many of you have been talking about meetings. Many of you are talking about Occupy Church Street. I want to tell you, I'm soon ready for you. Are you ready for us? Don't be shouting and you're not ready. I want to say to you, make no mistake about my resolve to defend our honor and rescue our country. In times like these, we cannot afford to remain silent and take no action. We will champion the cause of our people. We will take our fights wherever the fight leads us. And we have to lead our movement to start to begin to occupy Church Street. Brothers and sisters, members and friends, I have heard your call, and I accept your call that enough is. With the high rate of electricity, enough. With the 17% VAT and higher taxes, enough. Record-breaking murders with 5 already for the year, enough. Millions of dollars going into Lex Consulting, enough. High food prices, businesses closing, job losses and taxes on chalk, enough. We owe it to our children. We owe it to our grandchildren to fight against this new wave of oppressive rule and mismanagement. This is not about PAM. This is not about PAM. This is about our children's future and our grandchildren's future. This is not an argument about party loyalty. This is a struggle to survive, a battle to feed our children, a cause to ease the heavy burden placed on the old, the poor, and the disadvantaged. This is the call. This must be a mission to change the political culture, not to let it remain. Making it more transparent with integrity in public life, free and fair elections, freedom of information, and the building of one nation glued together, fighting a common cause for the good of the whole, not for the benefit of a few. We will mobilize and get stronger. But this will be no easy stroll in the park, because I know the road to freedom will be tough. I know the road to freedom is going to be hard. But I am up to the challenge, and I'm certainly sure that you are up to that challenge also. Are you up to the challenge? But we will succeed. We will succeed with the help of the Almighty God and the involvement of the entire nation, no matter your political beliefs. In closing, let me make it abundantly clear this afternoon. This afternoon, the 18th of March, 2012, let me make it abundantly clear to those who are aiming to destroy me. Tell them Lindsay Grant is back to fight for all our people in this country. Lindsay Grant is what? Lindsay Grant is back to fight not only for the people in PAM, but for all our people across St. Kitts-Nevis. God bless you and good afternoon. I thank you.